Welcome to the WillPower podcast, where we uncover the secrets of success and share the wisdom of exceptional individuals. I'm your host, William Gomez, and as a real estate professional, I bring you insights from the world of real estate and beyond. Join me as I engage in captivating conversations with incredible guests from diverse backgrounds and industries, from top real estate moguls to trailblazing entrepreneurs and influencers. We dive into the mindsets and habits of successful people. If you love what you hear, don't forget to rate and review. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and enlightened. Live life today on WillPower. Joanna Ford, welcome to the WillPower podcast.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, Will. How about you?
I'm doing so good. I do this every time in every episode. I'm always like, this is the first time that we've done this or that. This is the first off-site podcast we have not done that hasn't been in our studio or that's in Oklahoma, because I've done a couple of podcast episodes where I've gone out to like Vegas, Houston, Dallas, San Diego, stuff like that. So it's not in our studio, but we're at one of you and your husband's listings, new builds, which we did a little tour that I'm excited to share with people. But I was like, let's do a change, and I'm so excited. For anybody that hasn't heard your name, you are a top producing real estate agent here in the Tulsa metropolitan area. You've been doing it for 23?
20. Don't make me older than I am.
2005. 20.
Almost 20. It was 20. Well, it was 19.
We'll call it 20 plus.
Let's call it around 20.
20 plus.
Yeah.
And you were at the same company for the entirety until this year.
Until January 15th of this year.
You opened your own brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that it's been blowing up, I think that's a little bit of a understatement. How many agents are you at right now?
You're going to catch me there. I think we have at least 25 or 27.
Okay. And then so you leave your previous company, start this new one.
Yep.
What do you have in mind? Like it's January 15th and you're like, okay, July 15th. How many agents am I going to have? Like, what are you thinking?
My goal is 50 by next January 15th.
So that's always been your goal?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then you're right on track.
I'm a very goal-oriented person.
I think that's why I like you. So the other thing, too, that I did not know about you, which I truly believe it's very important, is that I did not know that you were a single mom when
I started this.
Well, no wonder whenever I shared my story with you, you had so many questions.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that. How difficult was that? How old were you when you had your first child?
Well, I turned 50 this year.
Oh, come on. We got to cut that. I'm just kidding.
I'm going to start lying about it just so everybody knows. So
all right,
here, you keep this.
There you go. Okay. So
and my daughter's 24.
Okay.
So I was in my 20s. I was in my 20s when I started real estate, like 29, I think. Just recently divorced, and I had been a stay-at-home mom for 4 years. And at first I was a little scared, but I prayed about it, and truly I feel God led me down this path where I'm at today. I've always enjoyed real estate. I had purchased a home up in Ponca City when we had lived there for a short time, and we completely renovated it and we sold it and made a good amount of money on it, and then had a rent house. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to get into real estate. And my brother-in-law's uncle is Tim Cochran with Keller Williams.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I love the Cochran family. And so I went to Tim and asked him what he thought about it. And I was hoping that he was going to give me a job. And he guided me to go to Coldwell Banker, because they have a great real estate academy, and meet Ron Sumner and talk to them about, going to school. And so I did that, and I put my license there. And 6 months later, he was like, "Girl, why did you not come back over here?" I'm like, "I didn't know you wanted me to," because at that time he had his own brokerage with his mom, Bobby Cochran and Associates. So
I bet that's one of the biggest regrets that he still regrets.
Well, he called me for a few years after that every year, just making sure I was happy. They're a great family.
Yeah.
But that's how I felt, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I love looking at houses. Like, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
It's so fun, and helping people. So I got to help people with their largest investment, and they trusted me. And I did so much research. I'm a big research person. Even before the internet came out, I was like encyclopedia girl. So read a lot of books. I had a lot of great coaching at Coldwell Banker with Ron Sumner, with Bonnie Baker. She's freaking a rock star. And I felt I was completely confident to help people with their largest investment. And I knew a lot of people because I used to, when I was a stay-at-home mom, I can't sit still. So I used to teach scrapbooking classes, and I worked for a company called Creative Memories, or no, it's like Creative Memories. It's called Stampin' Up. No one's ever heard of Stampin' Up, but it's like Creative Memories.
Okay.
And I had I had a lot of clients, and they all became my clients in real estate as well. So, because they all, trusted me and wanted to help me get started.
So is that what you were doing before?
Yeah.
Like right before you got into real estate?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do math in my head, but if your daughter's 24 and
50,
and then you've been doing real estate for 23-ish years or 20.
I think it's 20
or 20 or 20. Let's call it 20.
Yeah.
So you were a single mom and then you decided to take a risk and go into real estate. What was the thing that was driving you?
I had 6 months of alimony. My husband's like, I'm giving you 6 months of alimony so you can get on your feet and get this started. He believed in me as well, but then he was like, I don't know if she's going to make it, that kind of thing. I'm like, that's fine. That's all I need. And I hit the door running. I mean,
you had over $3 million your first 7 months?
I think my first 6 months I had, way over 3 million. Because I think I ended up doing 7 million that year, which wasn't a complete year. I think,
and that was back in 2007 or 2005 in an Oklahoma market, which to get, $7 million in today's market, I would say it's got to be at least.
It's about 25% more.
Yeah. So, and agents right now in today's market, if they're doing like 3 million for the year in their like 5th, 10th year, like they're just kind of like pretty content about it.
Yeah.
So, you had a big driver. You only had 6 months of alimony. You had a daughter to take care of.
And I was not going to fail.
So, but what was it, do you think, that really drove you like to get that volume that first year? Because that's what literally.
Because I wanted to provide my daughter the lifestyle I wanted to provide her without being dependent on her dad. He's a great father, don't get me wrong, and he supports her 100%. And he has paid for, half of almost everything we've done for her college tuition and everything. But I wanted to support her on my own in my lifestyle and her lifestyle. I wanted to give her a good home and get a swimming pool and all those things. I had all these goals for her, and I didn't want those to change. And so I knew that I had to dive in and bust my tail. And I think I've worked 70 hours a week most of my real estate career, even still today. She grew up in my car. A lot of people thought that was wrong.
Did you ever think that she might grow up and be an agent?
I wondered for a little while because she's very smart and she picked up on a lot of stuff quickly, like the terminology, and knew where to look for termites and would tell the buyers what style house it was. It was almost embarrassing sometimes. But then she's very book smart.
What does she do now?
She's in med school.
Wow, she must be really smart.
Yeah, she's in PA school. She goes to University of Oklahoma at Tulsa. She is very smart. She's very book smart, always has been. She learned to read really quick. So I knew she wasn't going to be here. I knew she was going to either probably be in medicine or something like that.
Well, she didn't pick a too bad a path there.
No, she's doing great.
So
I'm glad she's not on this.
So that was a huge risk that you took.
It was scary, but.
And you came out on the other side. I believe you told me that every single year after that,
I just went up and up and up.
Up. Even in 2005, you went through 2007, 2008. How many people do you think got out of the business around that time?
Oh, a lot did. I think at one time, I remember we only had like 3,000 realtors, like maybe 2,800 realtors.
In the Tulsa area?
Yeah. In our association, which is huge.
Yeah, I think last year I saw that there was over 6,000 agents.
Close to 7,000. It peaked, I think, at around 8,500 during COVID, the COVID boom.
I didn't even know that. That's
crazy.
That
was insane. Yeah.
And for Tulsa, that's...
Well, we have a big realtor association. Our board's huge.
Yeah. So you took that big risk. You became very successful. And then you're like, you know what? I got to take another risk. And I've been at this company, which by the way is it says a lot about you. When I've been in the business since 2018, So a lot shorter time than you have, but I've seen my fair share of agents and agents that I've worked with that are just moving, right? It's like the grass is always greener. I think that that's in every industry in life, but in real estate, I feel like it's so much easier to just be like, I'm not busy. It must be the brokerage I'm at.
Yep.
Let me go over here.
Yep.
And then, so first of all, before I ask that next question, what made you want to stay with the same company for that long?
I'm like a dog. I am loyal as can be, every aspect. I'm just a very loyal person.
And then, so what made you leave, and not just leave, but like take a big risk? Because it's not like you were just going to leave and then not be a top performer, but like you left and then you're like, I'm just going to take on like
and
this.
buy a franchise and open my own. So, it slowed down quite a bit last year, I would say around August. And I have heard from so many people, half of my career, probably at least 10 years, why don't you go out on your own? Why don't you get your own brokerage? Some people thought that I owned Coldwell Banker. I thought that was funny. I'm like, no.
Who, like other agents or clients? Clients. Okay.
Yeah, people I do business with. Like, oh my gosh, it's funny. But I did a lot of research and I found Realty One Group, and they are the fastest growing real estate brokerage franchise in the country. They're number one for like 3 years in a row. They have a newer image, and I liked that because they're like state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art marketing. Everything is just like up here. They come out of California. I thought, man, I really like their platform. Like, I think we need this in our community, for one. And I think I need a change. I need to rebrand myself. And then I found out even more about their brokerage once I started digging into it. And I'm like, wow, it's 100% commission. And not only can I help my clients still do what I love to do and serve them and help them with their investments, I can help other realtors become the best that they can be and not go broke doing this, because it's so expensive to get your real estate license. Oh. It's so expensive your first year. All these things that you don't know that we have to pay for is crazy. Our dues at the local level and the state level and the national level, continuing educations, the material you need, your signs. So I thought, you know what? This puts more money in my pocket, and it's going to put more money in other people's pockets. And my assistant, Marcella Franklin, she's been my assistant for, I think, 15 years. We don't know. It's a long time. Talked to her about it, and we're like, we can take this even to another level. And we can, because, it's hard for them when they have to pay for their signs at some brokerages, like $100, $85 every time you need a metal sign to put in the yard.
And you use rent those, or
you buy it? You do. You don't own the sign. You have to bring it back.
Oh, so you pay the $100.
You pay the $100, and then you get money back on your account when you bring it back. But you still have to shell that money out of your pocket. Yeah. There's so much money out of your pocket. So we thought, we'll just do it. We'll charge a flat fee for our office fees, because I didn't like my invoice coming in every month and never knowing what it's going to be. That's hard when you're a new agent, because you can't budget for what you need to spend when you're getting charged for paper clips and a sign and, putting your ad in this magazine or whatever. So we charge one flat fee and everything's included. Like, they don't have to worry about their signs. They don't have to worry about extra marketing material or making customized flyers or signs or business cards or postcards or whatever they need. We give it to them.
What's the difference between, like, so anybody can get licensed to be a real estate agent. Then from there, there's a requirement for you to get your broker's license.
There's not a requirement for you. So you get your license, and then you have to put that license with a broker. And then you've got like 90 clock hours to do to secure all that for you for the first year. And then you have continuing education every 3 years, but we have some stuff that we do have to take every year. Do
you have to wait a certain amount of period before you can actually...
3 years, and you have to have so many transactions under your belt as well.
So then at that point you say, I can either go do my own thing pretty much. Tell me the biggest difference between somebody going out and then starting their own company from scratch or doing the franchise thing.
I thought about doing both, and I didn't want to affect my business, number one, because I don't like to slow down. So this was easier for me to just pay and buy a franchise, and everything's there. So I didn't have to develop a website or pay for a website to be developed. And it's the state of the art, just like everybody else has got out there. All my agents have their own website. It's carouseled with the IDX feed. Everything coming off MLS is on there, live maps, all this stuff. It's actually got more stuff than anybody's, because we can email them from there in a special way, and share an app with them on their phone so that they can get their live listings on their personal app on their phone.
And that would have taken
a long
months
time
or years
to develop. It's very expensive. Yeah.
And that's so good for anybody that's listening, like agents as well too, that are listening, that have thought about that, because I feel like it's so easy for people to think like,
oh, you can just do it in your house today. You don't even have to have a.
When I say easy, I meant like start your own thing and then be successful at it.
Yeah.
Like not just you hang up your license somewhere, right?
Right.
So, so let's say you have 10 agents. You only know what you know, right? Like you don't know what you don't know, the type of thing, to where like you're a perfect example. Tim said, go ahead and go to this real estate academy. Like sounds like he was being like a great guy, like just being
absolutely.
like, hey,
gave me great advice.
But then you're like, I'm done with my stuff. And so, I'm already here. I guess this is how it works. Right. And I hear that happened. We were talking about a broker, before we started, and she would tell me that all the time. She was at the office where, the real estate school is at. And then she was like, yeah, we just get a bunch of people that just sign up because they're just like,
we're getting our own real estate academy too.
Wow. That's going to be huge.
We're working on that. It'll be open in probably 30 to 45 days. We already have our instructor.
Wow.
Everyone's licensed already.
Love it. So then you start there, but then it's like so many people, like, what would you say? Some people start with the brokerage and like their commission split is like
50-50.
As low as 50-50. And then I would say like the average is probably like
80-20.
So anybody listening that is trying to understand this is, imagine that you mow lawns and you charge $100. Every brokerage is not going to give you the full $100. Some of them just be like, okay, hey, here's 50. Some of them are like, in my mind, I think average is like, here's 80, and then we're going to keep 20. Why do you think people?
Here's 80. I'm going to keep 20, and then I'm going to also charge you.
I forgot about that
office
too.
dues, and then if they're really low, they're going to charge you for copy paper, for anything in that office that you needed, paper clips, staples, whatever. If you needed flyers to be made, they're going to charge you a setup fee to set that flyer up.
So it's still your own business. You still have to pay for all that stuff yourself. My question is like, why do you think people, including like yourself, like, do you do a lot of volume? Whatever your split was, let's say 20% that you were given. That's a good chunk of money. Like, do you feel like you were getting that value
Mine
back?
was better than that, but it took me a couple of years, not long, to get to that, where I negotiated my commission split. And I paid them anywhere from $165,000 to $250,000 a year in my split and my franchise fee that we have to pay, or we had to pay there. And then another, I'd say $15,000 to $17,000 a year in my office fees.
So average a couple $100,000 a year that you pay from your production.
Yeah, but I'm a high producer agent. Like on the average, I do $25 million a year. I've done as much as $45 million a year.
What do you think you were getting back for that?
The name, national recognized name.
But do you think people are really working with you because?
No, they hire you because they like you. They don't even know who you work for.
You know what's funny is I went and taught or did a sales meeting for Solid Rock. There was 3 offices there. There was like maybe 40 people there. And my whole thing is, any time that I'm with people, I'm always like, what can I do to add value and get these people to know me more, like me, and trust me, right? That's what's going to make you successful in this business. At the very end, they're like, the lady comes out and she says, and if you guys don't think that Will's just here to sell you, he didn't even tell us who he works for. Like, they're like, who do you work for?
That's awesome.
And then I honestly kind of like that because when I started in the business, I started with a big name bank. And then, so when I left, people were like, oh, that's Will from the bank.
Yep.
And I hated that.
Yeah.
I was like, people aren't working with me because of who I work for.
Yeah.
So now, even like with what I've been able to do with social media, people don't even know I live in Tulsa.
Wow. That's awesome.
So where it has helped with even like out of state referrals where people are like, oh, hey, this guy has given value, so I want to work with him. So even you, as at the top of your game, you still believe that you're paying $200,000 for the name?
Well, so the name is important. It was important to me in the beginning. I think, why did I
in the beginning, that makes sense.
Yeah, in the beginning, you think differently than after you get in here and you really start learning the business, because you don't know the business until you are in it. And so, like, I didn't have to worry about anything. I had support if I needed anything. But I will say I wouldn't know hardly anything I know today if I hadn't started there, because I had the best training there. 100%. I learned so much. Everything I do, I've learned from there, and either still do it just like I learned it, or I've taken that and I've tweaked it and made it into something more.
Somebody with the amount of success that you have, as I've gotten to know you, I feel that you're still very humble, and that's what I think keeps getting you more successful. One of the things that I asked you before the podcast started was like, who's one of your mentors or somebody that you look up to, right? And you named like 5 people. And it reminded me a lot of when I started. And I remember calling like the top 10 loan officers in the area. And I was like, hey, would you meet with me? Like, I'm new. Can you tell me your story? Like, I want to be like you someday. Or in my back of my head, I was like, I want to surpass you someday, right? Like, but I know I'm not going to be able to do this alone. I feel like so many people, whether success or not, and most of them with no success, it's like you can't just swallow the pride of just like asking for help. And I feel like you're giving a lot of credit to a lot of people for everything that you've been able to do. What do you think drives you to do that? Like, still seek for mentorship, for advice, and then also make sure that you don't forget, like, because you have nothing but great things to say about this company that you were with for 20 plus years. That's just a lot. So where does that come from?
I'm just honest. Like, I mean, I'm just being truly honest. That's how I do everything. Like, why would I say anything that's not true or make something up? I mean, that's where I learned everything.
But outside of the honesty, though, what drove you to truly, when you first started, being like, hey, I'm going to get you to teach me the way. And then after your one broker left,
I had to be successful for my daughter.
So you're telling me,
I only have one kid.
So you're telling me that if you truly want something in life,
you go.
First of all, it doesn't sound like you had a plan B.
No, I didn't. I was always plan A.
Okay, well, that's where I think that a lot of people go wrong, because they're like, well, this doesn't work.
If you believe in yourself, why would you have a plan B?
I mean, you want to look at that camera and tell it? Because I feel like a lot of people.
No, I mean, I believe in myself. This is what I want to do, so I'm going to go do it. It's not like, well, if I fail, then I'm going to do this, because now you've lowered your expectations and your drive and everything. I'm getting that. That's what I want.
Okay, you have 100 agents to start, brand new agents. How many of those do you think have a plan B out of 100?
I mean, from the new ones I've talked to, they all do. I know. I try to tell people.
and I know we keep talking about real estate. This isn't, and by the way, after having this conversation and everything, I want you to come back to our other podcast, which is a fully real estate podcast, which we'll dive in. But people that are listening that are like trying to understand real estate, like, this isn't just for real estate. This is for anything.
Everything. It's
anything
everything
that you want to do.
Yeah. If you want to be successful, the number one thing I can tell you to give you advice is to show up. Show up. Go to the office or a space, not in your house. Make that phone ring, because the phone's not going to ring itself.
No,
you got to make the contacts. You got to go out and meet people. You got to sell yourself to everybody. So in order to do that, you got to believe in yourself. Because if you're trying to sell yourself, am I going to buy what you're selling if you don't believe in it yourself? And I feel the insecurity there, or I see it. No.
It's so basic, but it's so crazy to me that like people talk to me all the time and they're like, man, Will, you implement fast, you are disciplined, all this stuff. And I don't look at myself in the mirror and I really see that.
No.
I just think that I'm doing basic things.
I hear that too. Like, wow, you must be very organized. You must be very, disciplined and structured. And I am all those things. I am. I'm sure it helps, but that's not, but I still see people that are like that too. And if you don't have the drive and the motivation and believe in yourself, you're not going to make it there.
That's so good. You said, if you want some advice, and you said just show up, but then you also had some different advice that I think that you play in your head all the time. And it's, if anything is worth anything, it's not going to be easy. So how quickly do you identify if something is worth even putting, any effort into, to be like?
I think the more effort you put into something, the more it's going to pay you back. Like
in anything.
Yeah.
Even like hobbies.
Yeah. I have taught myself several hobbies. I mean, like during COVID, I taught myself how to knit and crochet off of YouTube.
Okay.
How fun is that?
Hey,
then I
that's the one thing that I don't
made
think we
like 500 hats in 1 month. I'm like, what am I going to do with all of these? So I gave them away.
I'm more obsessive on like the fitness side of things. Like during COVID, I went to Tulsa Tough for the very first time. I've lived in Tulsa pretty much all my life.
Yeah.
And 2021, somebody was like, come to Tulsa Tough. I'm like, what is that? I went and I was like, this is awesome. I'm like, are all these people pros? And they're like, no, anybody can do them. There's different races. So I said, I'm going to do it next year. I hate being an I wish person. Like people that are always like, I wish that was me. Like somebody walks into work and says,
I don't think I ever say that.
A lot of people do though. Like if somebody walks into work and says, I'm taking my family to Disney World next month, a lot of people would say, I wish I was doing that. Very few people say like, hey, I'm going to do that, even if it's in like 2030. Like I'm going to save enough money to take my family to Disney World in 2030.
Wow.
Like that, at least you're not saying I wish, you're saying like, I am going to do it. So I was like, I'm going to do it next year. But then of course I completely forgot about it until somebody reminded me April of 2022, following year. And we're at Red Rock having brunch and somebody brought up Tulsa Tough. And I said, I'm supposed to do that this year. So I'd go to this bike shop right in the same shopping center. And then, first of all, I thought a bike was like $500.
You went to Trek Tech.
Well, I bought it like a pretty basic bike, and it was like a couple $1,000. And I was just like, and it was COVID, so like prices were inflated and stuff. And then so they were trying to sell me like shoes, like clips and everything. And then I was like, they were trying to sell me and stuff. So I go and I do 20 miles without any clips, without any a butt pad. And I had already signed up for a 100-mile bike race for Tulsa Tough in like a couple months. But I was just like, oh my gosh, I was like, I got to do this. And then I go and tune in my bike, and then I end up swapping my bike, bought another bike because I was like, this is going to make me faster. I go and do this thing.
Did you get the shoes?
Oh, I got everything.
Okay.
I got everything.
Those are important.
You don't want to ask me how much I know.
I have a bike.
So I go and do it. And man, it was so painful. It took me like almost 6 hours or almost 7 hours, I think, to do this.
Wow.
But I ended up doing it. But I was just like, now I'm so committed, which the reason I'm sharing that is because, one, I think that you and I are a lot alike. Besides, I don't know if I would do the knitting and but we put that energy into something else, right?
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people that are listening that are like, what can I do to stay more accountable to myself? What can I do to actually, do the thing I'm going to do? And it's like, put more skin in the game. Because part of the thing, whenever I bought that other bike, I was like, I know that there's no way that I'm not going to bike again. Because I just wanted to do something that I think that's what hurts us as humans is we all have goals, destinations to get to. But then once we get there, we're just like, okay, that was cool. Like I lost 30 pounds. Now I can go back into my old diet and do that stuff all over again. So it's so hard to maintain.
Find something else that's going to energize you.
Unless you have skin in the game, right? So for me, like, man, I got done with that bike ride and I was like, there's no way I ever want to do this again. But I was like, no, I'm already too much deep in. And to tell you that it was a saving grace for me, because the following year in January or February, I ruptured my Achilles, and then I couldn't work out at all. It was a tough time. And then so I bought another bike after I'd realized that was going to be the easiest thing. And then I did another 100-mile bike race, and I did that in sub 4 hours.
Wow.
That's how obsessed I got with that.
That's awesome.
Because I think that people have to, like, I always think that I have an addictive personality, but that can be used for bad, but that can also be used for good.
I agree.
So would you say you have an addictive personality?
I would. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I don't do drugs. But absolutely, I think I'm a workaholic because I love it.
Do you take any time off during the week?
So you always have to keep God up here.
Yeah.
And I know you're supposed to keep your family right here, but I'm like, God, and then there's my work, because that's how I provide for my family. So my triangle might be a little not perfect. I love it though. It energizes me like the bike energizes you, but it's not just the money. Of course, that's a bonus that comes along. It's helping people.
Yeah.
Like I will help anybody and everybody. I've gone from a closing where it was a $3.4 million home to go show that afternoon showing a house in Turley to somebody for $20,000. Like, I remember talking to my husband on the phone. He's like, "You're nuts." I'm like, "No, it's about providing housing and homes for people, not for price ranges."
Man, that is motivating. And that should be motivating to, especially any agents listening, because I feel like there's a lot of like, I want, but there's a lot less like, I'm willing to do this. Like there's probably agents that have closed 1, maybe 0 deals in the entire year that would not drive out there because they're like, because they might just be like, I just don't know.
It's just as important to them as it is to somebody else.
But I think that
it's harder.
I think that for that agent that I'm talking about though, is they don't have the right why they're doing it. It's like you weren't, I mean, definitely weren't doing it for the money. If you just left a $3.4 million closing to go, show this house. But I think that I always tell people, everybody knows what they do. Mm-hmm. Fewer people know how to do it, but only the top people know why they do it. And I think that you know why you do what you do. Mm-hmm. Man, I could talk to you forever, but I'm really happy that we got to have this conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
And for the last question that I have, and this will be like a shameless plug for you, is if I'm an agent and I'm thinking that the grass might be greener on the other side, what are the top 3 reasons of why I should come to your brokerage?
Why should you come? I think you should come and talk to me, because I think there has to be chemistry here to feel like we're both a good fit. I can teach people how to be what they want to be if they want to be successful in this business. And I can keep more money in their pockets and help them find the right path they need to be on.
That's good. I think when people ask me what I look for in a new place, and this is coming from somebody that, I'm not a real estate agent, but I always say, unless I'm going to go start my own place, I'm always going to report to somebody. So who's going to be my direct report? Is it going to be a manager or is it going to be a coach, a mentor, a friend? How are the operations, right? Because you, as much as anybody knows that you can get a deal and win that agent over, but if you mess up that deal, you're never going to hear from them again. And then last but not least, it's environment. Environment is very important, whether it's just in the office or in the company, because that can really, really help momentum, even when momentum is down. And it sounds like the momentum that you guys have is building an amazing environment and culture at your office. And so I'm really I have a strong feeling that you're going to way over exceed your goal by June of 15th of next year?
I don't want to, but if I do, I'll open another office. I want to keep that small feeling. I want to know everybody and know what's going on and help everybody, not just with real estate. If they've got something going on personally, I want them to feel like they can come to me so I can help them.
Well, hey, this is another side that I didn't really know so much more about you. I know we've done a couple deals in the past, and it's always one of the things that I did love about you, though, or before really getting to know you, you always answer your phone.
Everybody always says that.
But that's why you're successful. No,
because I show up.
Like, people don't want to answer their phones, and it blows my mind.
That's not showing up. This is our office, our mobile office now. Our phones are
100%.
You got to answer it.
You always answer your phone, but I saw a very like business side of you, and this is like
it's me.
Hey, I love it. Where can people find you?
Well, my number's all over the internet, so they
Joanna Ford.
Yep.
Just Google it.
Just Google me, Joanna Ford, Tulsa. Boom, there I am.
There you go. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.